The stage is set for a dramatic revelation as we peel back the layers of the Israel-Iran conflict, where America's initial reluctance to intervene has given way to a surprising turn of events. I have explained this multiple times across various videos. America initially had no interest in getting involved, yet Israel was keenly pushing for U.S. intervention, especially when it came to bombing Iran's nuclear facilities like Fordo and Natanz, where no other nation possesses the kind of massive ordnance bombs required. I'm talking about weapons like the 13,000 kilarakas, mother of all bombs, Moab, engineered to drill through 100, 200 meters of concrete before detonating, a capability honed through decades of military innovation and tested in controlled environments like the Nevada desert. This technological edge, combined with Israel's strategic urgency, set the stage for a pivotal shift. And I'm here to guide you through the fascinating details that emerged from my extensive discussions with contacts in America, including several Republican Party leaders. After having extensive discussions with my contacts in America, including several Republican Party leaders, some fascinating details emerged about why Trump first declared he wouldn't intervene, then gave Israel a 20-day window to resolve matters, and ultimately launched a surprise attack. The truth is, the American president is just a human being like anyone else. We Indians often joke about how politicians say one thing today and the opposite tomorrow, and Trump's behavior perfectly fits this pattern. One moment he's friendly with India, hosting Prime Minister Modi at extravagant events. The next he's summoning him over trade disputes or border issues. Even Republican leaders acknowledge this unpredictability in his decision-making, citing examples like his sudden tariff reversals or his flip-flops on climate policy. This human element, shaped by personal whims and external pressures, became a critical factor in the unfolding drama. Initially, Trump's advisors were adamant that he shouldn't enter this war and advised giving Israel limited time to handle the situation without escalation. Historically, Trump has positioned himself as more anti-war than Democrats like Obama or Clinton, frequently stating that war is never the solution during campaign rallies and interviews, a stance that resonated with his base tired of prolonged conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yet paradoxically, during his previous term, he authorized the high-profile assassination of IRGC Commander Qasem Soleimani near an Iraqi airport in 2020, a move that showcased his willingness to act decisively when pushed. This contradiction highlights the tension between his public persona and the strategic calculations that often override it, a dynamic that became evident as the Israel-Iran crisis intensified. The real turning point came when Trump received a personal message from Mike Huckabee, the current U.S. ambassador to Israel. I've spoken before about Huckabee's background. He's a Southern Baptist pastor who transitioned into Republican leadership, a journey that began with grassroots preaching in Arkansas and evolved into national prominence. Here's the crucial context. Many miss. The Republican Party, GOP, isn't just a political organization. At its core, it's deeply intertwined with evangelical Christianity, a movement that claims over 25% of the U.S. population and wields significant influence through churches and media networks. Figures like Stanley George, a Kerala-born pastor who became a GOP federal leader after migrating to the U.S. in the 1980s, and Huckabee himself aren't career politicians, but Christian missionaries who wield tremendous influence, often shaping policy through faith-based lobbying. Huckabee's message to Trump was framed as divine instruction. God has placed you in this position just as he did with Truman in 1945. You must pray and then take decisive action. This single message, rooted in biblical references to Israel as God's chosen land, completely transformed Trump's stance, turning a policy debate into a spiritual mandate. When he shared it on social media, something remarkable happened. Both Republicans and even opposition Democrats who had previously opposed him began demanding he support Israel by bombing Iran's nuclear sites. This created an unprecedented situation in U.S. political history where opposition leaders united to pressure a president into military action, a shift driven by over 70 million social media interactions in 48 hours, with hashtags like Stand with Israel trending globally. Why? Because the Republican base is fundamentally evangelical, viewing support for Israel as a fulfillment of end-times prophecy outlined in the book of Revelation. Trump, despite his controversial image, is actually a teetotaler who bans gambling in his hotels and identifies as a committed Christian, a fact reinforced by his public Bible readings and church visits. As Huckabee's message went viral, the narrative became, if Trump fails to defend God's holy land, Israel, God will judge him harshly. Social media exploded with posts like, Trump is showing cowardice, and God will hold Trump accountable for his inaction, amplifying pressure from influencers with millions of followers. Facing this theological and political pressure, Trump convened an emergency midnight meeting with defense chiefs, a session that lasted over 8 hours and involved intense debates with Pentagon officials and intelligence advisors. After marathon discussions, he approved the strikes, deploying B-2 bombers and Moabs with pinpoint accuracy. The aftermath? Trump's approval ratings soared to unexpected heights, climbing from 42% to 52% in a week, according to Gallup polls, a rare feat for a president during wartime. Americans don't typically rally behind wars, but this operation, successfully destroying 3 nuclear sites while protecting Israel, earned rare bipartisan praise. Even Democrats had to acknowledge that no previous president had dared to directly attack Iran's nuclear program, a move that contrasted with Obama's diplomatic approach via the 2015 nuclear deal, which many criticized as weak. Multiple factors converged to drive Trump's decision. Huckabee's divine framing of the situation, overwhelming social media pressure from religious conservatives with a reach of over 100 million views, and the strategic opportunity to cripple Iran's nuclear ambitions, which intelligence reports estimated were within months of weaponization. Today, Republican insiders credit Huckabee as the pivotal figure who fundamentally altered Trump's calculus on this historic military intervention, with some calling him the spiritual architect behind the strikes. This influence extended to policy circles, where evangelical leaders briefed Congress, swaying key votes on military funding. What makes this story particularly remarkable is how it reveals the undercurrents of American politics, where faith, social media, and geopolitical strategy intersect in ways that can override even a president's initial instincts. The operation wasn't just about geopolitics. It became a theological imperative that reshaped the balance of power in the Middle East, with Iran's nuclear program set back by a decade, according to IAEA estimates. This interplay of religion and politics also influenced U.S. aid to Israel, increasing by $3 billion annually post-strike, reflecting the evangelical lobby's triumph. The deeper lesson here is about understanding how U.S. foreign policy decisions often emerge from complex interactions between political calculations, religious influences, and media dynamics, factors that most international observers rarely fully appreciate when analyzing American actions on the global stage. This episode will likely be studied for years as a case study in how non-traditional actors can influence high-stakes military decisions in ways that defy conventional political analysis, offering a window into the soul of American power.